evening. I am Dr. Evil Genius, representing one half of the Talking Shit podcast.
And I am Captain Paul, representing the other half of the Talking Shit podcast. How's it going, Evil?
Yeah, so some interesting things, happening in the world and in our world. And, I wanted to talk about, some things that, I guess people could make a bunch of different jokes if they wanted to about our show. One of the things that we may or may not think about actively is the fact that our show is an interracial show,
Mm.
So I wanted to talk about June 12th, which just passed, which is known as Loving Day. We'll get into that. But before we do that, we'll kind of see what's going on with us. So we did the 5th installment of the Filthy Casual MMA watch party. We did that on Saturday. We did that with Mrs. Evil, but without Captain Paul. How you doing, Paul?
I'm doing good, man. As you knew, it was kind of like I had some real big issues with connection. Just kept dropping in and out. So I don't know, work, everything. And then even later when you said, hey, man, you could kind of join, I couldn't even get on. I couldn't get a connection because I guess due to fog at times, the fog fucks with your signal. And I wasn't getting 5G in that area for whatever reason at that point. But I'm going good, man. Just working. It's 7 a.m., 7 p.m., and then overtime including that. So, excluding that. So just, got about a week left on the boat. So, but trying to stay committed, working out a little bit.
Yeah, we were on for the better part of 7.5 hours on Saturday. It was a wild affair. So many interesting things came out of that pay-per-view. On the main card, started off with a young up-and-coming fighter getting his arm completely bent the wrong way.
Ooh.
And then when he got caught in the triangle choke, his arm was just flopping around.
Yeah.
Those who came to hang out with us, you already saw how my wife is. The more fucked up it is, the more excited she gets. But Jamal Hill ends up getting his elbow completely dislocated by Paul Craig. That shit was absolutely ridiculous. A lot of unexpected things happened, and then the expected happened at the end with Israel Adesanya schooling Marvin Vettori, who he's a very irritating personality. So yeah, my lady got your back. You know what I'm saying? She's carrying some of Captain Paul's responsibilities on Saturdays, but hopefully next Saturday, Captain Paul will join Mrs. Evil, aka Up Your Ram, and Dr. Evil Genius. So you wanted to know before we went live today, I told you, I was like, damn, I'm in a lot of fucking pain. For those who are watching, I'm in a significant amount of pain, and I'm used to being in some kind of physical pain, especially these days. As aggressive as I am about progressing with my fitness program, I want to talk to you guys about why I'm in pain today, and hopefully this will be a lesson to anyone who's watching. We'll do a video or a broadcast about the brain and how your brain looks at things. I touched on it a little bit when I asked you guys the question whether or not you are process oriented or goal oriented. Your brain is wired to be goal oriented. Your body doesn't really care about how to perform a task. It only really cares that the task is performed. So it will recruit any kind of movement pattern that it thinks it needs to go from whatever position you're in to the position that you want to be in.
Mm.
So this is why when I teach my clients, it's so important for you to go through a mental checklist with each and every repetition, because once your brain kind of loses focus and you go into autopilot, your body will start mimicking the motion instead of performing the motion.
Mm.
So whatever your purpose was for doing whatever movement, it can be taken away from you just because your brain is no longer focused on the process and only the goal. In a lot of cases, especially if you're counting off reps in your head, you're looking to get from rep 1 to rep 2, so on and so forth. A lot of sets end in the number 10, so a lot of times you're just trying to get to that 10th repetition. So what happened to me yesterday is I lost focus on one rep during a hip hinge motion. And I had two 75-pound dumbbells, one in each hand. And I was doing a hip hinge motion on both feet. And I lost focus for probably 3 seconds. And my brain went into autopilot. And I started mimicking the motion instead of performing the motion. And the weight transferred from my hamstrings to my lower back. And the soreness that came after that, absolutely debilitating. I mean, I woke up today and I felt weakness in my right leg. So,
Pretty serious.
Yeah, back was super fucking stiff. Especially, I'm talking about the lumbar spine, the lower back, more on the right side than the left. And the discomfort, the pain was so potent that I could feel some of the pain around the other side of my lower abdomen. But, there are some breathing drills that I go through, and, I will show you some of those drills that allow you to be a little bit less stiff, and it has helped me a lot. But, I can't punk out. I can't be a punk bitch. I have to be here for you guys, and so let it be a lesson to you guys. When you lift, you have to make sure that you hold each particular repetition with the utmost care and importance, because it only takes one rep to cause injury. It only takes one. You gotta stay focused. You gotta stay locked in. In fact, it's it's a good reason to have a trainer, because if your trainer is really pays attention to detail, he or she will be able to notice a difference in your approach to the movement, and then either correct you or stop and reset you so that you can correct yourself. So, especially when you get to be my age, you have to be very, very careful with the lumbar spine, the lower back. You have to be very fucking careful. And it's not just to guard against injury, but to just get the benefit of the motion that you came for. Like, you came here to achieve something. You don't want to lose the focus that is going to take away from the reward that you're looking for. What does that mean to you, Paul? Especially, when you think about, because, you've already started to do some pretty intense cardio with the incline, with the incline treadmill work, right?
Yeah. I actually, it kind of bring me back to when I used to train for hockey a lot. I was actually really enjoying it. The problem I have is I'd like to jog, but because where it is on the boat, it's more towards the neck, like the neck of the high part, so you have more swaying back and forth. So it's just not necessarily comfortable to jog up there, because I don't want to fucking get swayed off the fucking thing and then fucking break something, because it's all steel. But yeah, man, it was pretty good, high incline. Making sure to keep working out. I kind of leave a detailed log, and I think one of the learning experiences for you is because I've lifted, but it's been years, is to always. Oh, did you lose me for a second?
No, I'm here. Well, I mean, I can hear you, so that's the most important thing.
Okay, so yeah, sorry, this is gonna cut out from time to time. It's just a weird spot.
No, but
One of the weird parts.
your audio was good though.
Okay, that's all that matters. But so like, I think the one of the things with the like lifting and stuff from that, or just from learning from your experience, is always it's like you always got to make sure what you're doing, like you're doing it the right form, because you're right. When you just like when you're just starting lifting,
Got to stop you there, Paul. And
huh?
this is terminology from the old guard that puts you
Oh,
in the improper mind frame. You see, when people talk about form, you're literally talking about the position that you're in that allows you to successfully mimic the motion. What we want from you is to actually perform the motion. So you're not trying to, get proper form. What you're
mm,
doing is that you're putting your body in the proper position and then activating the target muscle groups that you're looking to work in this setting.
mm.
So
Okay.
you get what I'm saying? So in the instance of what I was doing yesterday, my
Mm-hmm.
job on the eccentric or the non-work part of the rep, my job is to create a stretching of a rubber band effect between on the backside of my knee all the way up to my ass, the hamstring. That's my
Mm-hmm.
job, right? The
Mm-hmm.
issue is that I lost my focus and I pulled my hips back, but I was not focused on the hamstring. And then on the concentric phase, the work part
Oh, I get what you
of the
mean. So you're not focused
repetition,
on that. Yeah.
I was supposed to
Right.
make sure that the hamstrings were working together with the glutes to um, extend my hip joint. But instead
Mm,
of doing that, I just kind of went back and then I tried to get up out of the position. Now,
mm-hmm.
if you would have looked at me, you would have said, "Wow, that's great form." And technically that would be true. But my mental approach to the motion was
Oh,
not
okay. I
proper.
get. uh, So I get what you're saying, and you got to realize
So
some of the
you
stuff I'm
don't
gonna.
care what it looks like as much. What you want to make
Right.
sure is
No,
that you're activating what's supposed to be activated.
see, I guess for me, because when I did the athletic training stuff, is like with the form, that's what I kind of thought like it wholly kind of entailed. Is right. It's like if you wanted to work a certain set of muscles, you're cognitive that you're working that muscle group, and you're not working like for example, like you said, you know, you're with your lower back, you're making sure you're activating it with your hamstrings and your glutes. But
Because if you
so
don't,
like
that weight's going to go somewhere.
yeah, and it's not going to be pretty, especially in the lower back. Uh, like, and I think the main thing though is it's like it's just for me it's just I want to show everyone with the things we do from here on the podcasting and our everyday life with our careers is you're going to have setbacks, but it's how you bounce back that kind of really defines you as a person. Like shit, Evil showed up, he probably did not want to sit in a chair right now, probably want to just be chilling doing something else, and it's commendable for you.
How about taking a long ass nap?
Yeah.
How about that?
getting, getting some nice little painkillers. Oh,
Yeah.
yo, should we change the name? yo, but
Yeah,
no, seriously.
so I made
Go
a
ahead.
very critical error, and the thing is, I was working on 10 sets of 10 suitcase style rack pull, 10
Mm,
sets of 10 at 150 total pounds. I had 99 good reps. I had one bad one, and it changed my Monday.
that is frustrating because it's like everything else was going well,
And that's why
doing it
you
correctly.
gotta
Yeah.
cherish every repetition. Every rep matters. Every rep matters. Don't
Well,
fuck around. Keep your focus, and make sure that every single rep, when you go into the eccentric,
Mm.
You're trying to be in a certain position and you're trying to get there a certain way, and then on the concentric, on the return to wherever you're supposed to be, you want to make sure that you're using the proper, uh, the proper agonist, the proper muscle
Mm.
groups to facilitate that motion rather than just completing the motion by any means.
I think that's kind of, if you really, it's a good correlation to life though, right? Like
Absolutely.
you could do something 99 times, do it correctly, depending on your profession. But like that one bad time, you could either be hurt, killed, or even, let's say it's like a meeting, like you do.
All right, we lost Paul a little bit.
That's why you gotta be dedicated and very, I don't know, how would you put that? Very cognitive about everything you do in life and never do anything half-assed. Make sure you put maximum effort into everything and be
Maximum
cognitive.
effort.
Yeah,
Uh,
man. Like, I'm giving go for the viewers and stuff like that, because shit, man. Like, it's just that one time that can really, really fuck you up.
yep. And that's why you know my clients simultaneously look at me as a big softy, but also as a nitpicker. And the reason why I have to pay attention to the details is because it's those little itty bitty things that can either make you or break you, literally. So
Mm.
it is really super important to just be sure that that you're paying attention to what you're doing every repetition. So learn from my mistakes, people. Learn from my pain. Learn from the weakness I'm feeling in my right leg as I sit here in this chair.
So, man, like you said, man, we have a lot of stories to go into, like a lot. Um,
Yeah, we have a few. I really wanted to talk about some of these racial stories because these are things that have been playing on my mind. Us being an interracial podcast, we don't tend to think of it. We don't tend to think of it like that, but it is what it is. I'm from the hood, and you're a fucking ginger. You kind of sort of look like a garden gnome at times, and that's totally okay. When we
all I
when
heard
we
was
first
ginger, and the rest of it was robotic.
oh yeah, you're cutting in and out just a little bit, Paul. What I was saying is that
Okay.
I'm a black dude from the hood, and you look like a garden gnome at times, and that's okay. We still respect you. Uh,
Mm.
but the thing is, I had to think a
Dickhead.
lot about how we would cover a lot of topics on this podcast because of the simple fact that I can talk about issues in the black community, but I can't discuss them the same way because my co-host is white. I mean, it's just especially when I listen to other men in the manosphere, particularly in the black manosphere. Um, they are very, very protective over whose word they respect based upon what
Mm.
color they are and who they do business with. So as a black man creating a new show, I know that there are going to be certain people that I actually respect, that I revere, that chances are if I wanted to do some sort of um um if I wanted to do, some sort of collaboration with them, I would probably be denied that networking opportunity simply because I have a white co-host as a business partner. So,
But
uh,
isn't that kind of like a backwards way of thinking? right? Because I think in a lot of ways, me and you can't relate on certain issues, but don't you think having me and you are very different people raised in very different backgrounds, but having people from different perspectives coming together, different childhoods coming together, and then being able to have this conversation, I think it's more fruitful, right? Because I think, I could probably have an echo chamber, you could have an echo chamber, but like I think it opens up more doors, and it allows the other side to hear your side. You know what I'm trying to say? Like I'm not speaking of ignorant people, right? Because ignorant people are just going to be ignorant. But if you're willing to engage with a different person or a different type of people, I think the conversations can be far more fruitful, right? And then maybe you, or maybe I can learn something that probably doesn't resonate with me at all. You know what I mean? Like something like some experience you talk about, and I don't even know that exists. And I think
Mm-hmm.
that's what I like about our podcast, is because we're just such different people. We're very similar, but we're very different at the same time. We have different life experiences, and that allows us to pull from those life experiences and kind of like, yo, this is my perspective on things, this is your perspective on things. Maybe neither is wrong, but it kind of gives like a nice nuance to it, and kind of like, okay, maybe that's how they view it, or maybe that's how I or you view things. And it's just, I don't know. I think it adds a nice little different perspective to the whole thing overall.
Yeah,
Um,
and that's why I
so like
continue
I
to.
don't know.
No,
No, go
continue.
ahead. Sorry.
Sorry, I
Like
think there might be a
like
little delay.
yeah, yeah. Like for me, yeah, I actually wouldn't mind going on and talking with some of these guys in the Blackosphere, and just Black Manaverse, or I'm probably butchering that, but
The
uh,
Black
my
Manosphere.
thing is,
Mm-hmm.
yo, I swear to God, I'm not doing that as an insult. But like, because then I'm probably learning something I wouldn't be cognitive of, and I think it's kind of fun, and I think it's important to learn from different people, different perspectives, and different backgrounds, because if we all just kind of stay within the same community, we're never truly. I don't know. I feel like we're missing out. You understand what I'm saying? Like
Absolutely. And
you're,
this is
you're
why
missing out
I
that learning.
decided. I the thing is, like, I definitely knew the value of us doing this show together, and I knew that it
Mm.
may close some doors, but I know that it's probably going to open other more important doors as well. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I get what you mean.
So
Definitely understand what you got.
I want to talk about this door that was opened, 1958. Uh, it's really weird how this all goes down because, I mean, take a look at this white guy's face. This is the look of a man who, he didn't mean to become an activist.
Mm-mm.
Activism. He didn't choose activism. Activism chose him.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and he loved this woman. Sure, she looks like she looked like Elmo, but he loved her, and that's all that matters.
Yo.
Okay. June 12th is Loving Day. Why do they call it Loving Day? Because his
Yo.
last name is actually
Wrong for
Loving,
that.
Richard P. And he married Mildred. Um,
Mm.
a word about this name, Mildred. This is a very depressing name. Like, what kind of names did they have for people, in the 1920s and 1930s? Like,
Mm.
it's like a combination of mildew and dread. Those are two very negative things. Guys, gals, don't name your daughter Mildred. Just don't do that. But anyway,
Mm.
focusing on this couple here. This couple got married to each other and was arrested for marrying each other. This is 1958, folks. We're not talking about, like, remember that film 300? No, looks like we're losing Paul. You guys remember that Do you guys remember that movie 300? You know, you had that, that character Xerxes. You had Xerxes,
Mm.
and they were carrying him on a chariot. No, we're not talking about long forgotten history. We're talking about 1958. There are a lot of people who were alive then that are still alive today, and they're relatively young. We're not talking about some distant history here. Um,
Mm.
they were woken up in the middle of the night a few weeks after their wedding. There were policemen with flashlights in their bedroom, and they were there to arrest them. They asked Richard who was that woman he was sleeping with. I say, I'm his wife, and the sheriff says, not here, you're not. um,
That's wild.
Mildred was black and Native American, and Richard was white. So, um, now each year on this date, Loving Day celebrates a historic ruling in Loving v. Virginia, which declared unconstitutional a Virginia law prohibiting mixed race marriage and legalized interracial marriage in every state.
Mm.
So, I mean, imagine you go to marry someone you love and you're given a choice: GTFO or the state pen.
That's crazy, man.
And the thing is, we've heard so many people, especially in modern day society, keep trying to push this narrative that the that the country is not built on racism. And they're doing all of this stuff. Oh, we don't want any critical race theory. Don't teach the kids about racism and all the bad things that we did and our parents did. No, don't tell that history. Talk about buildings, getting flown into by planes and Paul Revere, but forget the history of what we've done to black people in this country, and what we've done to white people who simply their only crime was not hating or having a disdain for black people.
Mm.
So, um, it's just
It's very interesting. I would have to say that it took several years because
yep, 67.
yeah. So for me, that's just because I've actually maybe it's because of the school I went to, but we went through like the 50s, 60s, and even the 70s about like
Mm-hmm.
social topics as well. Um, so it's just interesting because I remember actually do remember this. I forget I don't know if it was on my history book, if my teacher put it on a PowerPoint back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like I remember this case vividly, him talking about it, and
In school.
yes, in school,
But
yes.
but 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 can we address real quick the ugly reality that if a lot of these red states get their way, that your kids and your kids' kids might not get the opportunity to learn what really happened in this country? Do you think that it's possible that your views
Um,
might have been different if you did not know that this happened?
well, that's definitely a possibility, right? Um, when you're not, well, that's not a possibility, it's a probability. When you're not educated on certain information, you become ignorant to it, right?
Absolutely.
Because we both follow Daryl Davis, and we, interviews. Very interesting human being, what he did, but I'm not going to go on about it because we talked about it on a previous episode.
Can you imagine
I
if we
think
got big
the
enough to have Daryl Davis as a guest on our show? That would be fucking
bro,
awesome.
that'd be sick. Um, for me, so I'm very mixed on this whole not the critical rate. I'm very mixed when it comes to what we include with our kids' education, because I think a lot of it comes down to age groups, if this makes sense. I think the age group needs. This is very hard for me to kind of even say this because, like, I did have good education, but at the same point, a lot of people don't get this. So for me, I think there's a lot of topics you need to touch upon in history, a lot more than they do. My teacher, Mr. Keefe, shout out to him. He's actually running for council in Colorado, but he did a lot of topics that no other teacher would. So it kind of comes down to the problem with the education system as a whole right now is a lot of it's just like based on like grades and like statistics. You need to hit this like marker and stuff like that, like how they kind of evaluate your talent, or as a teacher evaluate your worth in one way. And I don't know if an everyday teacher is adequate, or if like is adequate enough to touch upon some of these subjects. Do you understand where I'm coming from? I think they don't necessarily would do it justice, because you are right. I think there's bias in either blue or
what would it take for justice to be done? Because I'm not sure that it's possible. So, I mean, the way that you see it, exactly how do you, and if you don't believe that justice would be done, then what would do it?
And that's the difficult question. I think the best way to do it, first off, I think there should be an age level to it. I think because at a young age, I don't necessarily think they're going to understand or grasp it really.
Do you know why I disagree with that?
What is that?
Tamir Rice. How old was he when the cops jumped out the car and blasted him to Kingdom Come?
Well, let's
11.
be honest. The cops were.
So the thing is that, it doesn't matter. You can be a victim of racism at any age, and that's why I don't agree with that.
I get where you're coming from, but I don't know if that would just cause more. Maybe I'm just an overthinker, but do you think that causes more division? Do you know what I'm trying to say?
I don't think so.
Because you know how you say like, oh, certain states like the Reds are gonna like not teach certain subjects and they'll make people feel a certain type of way, or like they'll have that. Couldn't you say in similar states that they teach it in a certain way where they kind of make it like,
no, I don't think so.
Us versus them.
Do you know why? You know why? Because it wasn't an us versus them until people started telling bold-faced lies about history that are very easily
debunkable. Yeah.
So if you say, hey, there were some bad things that happened, and the people who are responsible for those things are dead, but this is part of our history and we have to guard against these things, that's a unifying thing. But when you have people saying, no, don't teach this stuff, and then we got to hear black politicians and white politicians saying that this is not a racist country, when there's all of these examples of how racism is baked into the country. I mean, we talk about the Constitution and we talk about the amendments to the Constitution. There's racism in the Constitution, and there are attempts to undo some of the racism that's in the founding document of this country. You can't get away from it.
I'm more playing devil's advocate here, but couldn't you say that pretty much every country that's ever exists has been formed off that?
No, because we don't know that. But we do know our own history, and even if that was the case,
Well, think
we
about it.
don't
Like,
live
not
in
that,
any of those other countries. We
but
live
no, and I
in
agree.
this country.
But like for example, the UK, right? They have a very they have a pretty prevalent history, slave trade, the way they
Yeah, they're a
governed when
part
they
of it.
were. So I get where you're coming from, and I don't even necessarily disagree. I'm just saying is if you talk about, I feel like you'd have to better prepare teachers if you're going to do this, and then you're going to have to get rid of their biases because let's just call it how it is. Certain people are just going to have a very sarcastic view on it and teach it in a sarcastic way. Am I foolish to think that? Because I just think that if you live in certain regions, you're going to have certain views. You know what I mean?
That's why I
But
think that it should be taught in the vein of this was history, just like we teach any other history, because history is pretty ugly. So if you take
yeah,
racism out of it and you want to talk about 9/11, since that is, the so-called patriots go to, that's history they want to talk about all the time. Sometimes it seems like they masturbate to 9/11.
well,
Um,
no,
Family
and
Guy did a skit on that where remember when Lois Griffin was running for office and she
mhm,
figured out the only thing that she had to do is answer every question with 9/11 and everybody would go wild, right?
yeah, remember that?
And
Yeah,
there's a reason why Seth MacFarlane put that idea out there, because there are a lot of people who jerk off to 9/11 and they never want to forget that history, right? But when it
hmm
comes to, okay, we've got a rash of black people being killed without due process after September 11th, 2001. Forget, Rodney King in 1994. Forget that, right?
hmm
We're talking about stuff that is more recent, but yet we're supposed to forget about it and just get over it, right?
no, and I think that is a foolish line of thinking to have that type of thought process. I don't necessarily disagree. I don't disagree. You're right. What I'm just worried about is them bastardizing it because if you like, for example, let's just you brought it up 9/11, right? If you really think about it, in a lot of ways, we caused 9/11 because we're the ones who
I think
gave
our
them the
government
trade.
actually executed it.
Well, I'm not going to go that far, but I think if you just look into the history book or look into what was happening in like the 80s and the early 90s and how we trained them to fight in proxy wars against Russia, um, it bit us in the ass. And the way you kind of prevent for that from happening is you learn from history. So that's why I do agree. I think it's an important subject. I just think it needs to be done in a tasteful way, and that's what I get worried because I think in certain regions, let's just fuck it, just call it out as you go in certain states in the South, you know for fuck's sake they're not going to do it justice. You know what I mean?
But I
Like
think that it's worse if you just try to whitewash it and pretend it didn't happen at all.
right, but like,
I'd
and I
rather an incomplete story told than a complete whitewashing, because that's what they're trying to do. I mean, they
but my
even
thing,
had,
but
I think they had one school that was trying to talk about the positive parts of slavery, and they were giving that to the kids as an assignment. Like,
wait,
what the
what?
fuck?
Fuck.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've never heard that. That's fucking wild.
Yeah,
Wow.
but again, and the thing is,
Yeah, I
and
don't
that's
I
why it's
don't
so
have
important.
words for that.
Yeah, that's why it's so important for us to have a show like this, because like you said, there is going to be certain things that your brain is going to be wired to pay more attention to because it's more relevant to your life.
Mm-hmm.
As much as I try not to pay attention to this stuff, I don't have a choice because I'm directly or indirectly affected by this. Now, there was another very interesting article, and this is in Newsweek.
Well, do you mind if I just say something really quick because I kind of just
Yeah, I
I
do
kind of had
mind.
an idea.
It's my show, not
Uh,
yours.
oh fuck you. It's mine now, bitch. So like for me, it's
I'm the captain now.
I think the best way you could actually do this is if you make specialized education videos. As corny as this may sound, specialized education videos, not like 80s where it's like Dare or something like that, but like if you're gonna do it right, do it all the way right and make sure you have no biases to get in the way of that education. Do you understand what I'm saying? Where you get the whole cold hard facts, because my big counter to you is that if you like white, let's just say that, right? It's washed, right? You're gonna have in those states, they're gonna teach you, oh well, they retaliated and then they did that because of that. Like they'll you know what I mean? They'll like add some bullshit to it to kind of make it. I think you gotta like make it where it's like if you're gonna teach it right and kind of have a full fleshed out and actual history and breakdown of it. And I do think history is one of the great. I love history. I think history is amazing because there's a lot of fucked up shit that happens in history, but if you truly learn from history, you should not be repeating. You shouldn't be doomed to repeat it. And I do agree. I think it's important to educate kids so they don't necessarily repeat patterns that they don't repeat patterns that they think, oh, that's just normal patterns, and they realize, oh well shit, like I didn't realize that was kind of fucked up to think that way. You know what I'm trying to say?
Well,
I don't know. I'm babbling, but
yeah, I hear what you're saying, but I'm gonna redirect you, um, and I think that you'll understand the principle when I say this. Do you remember back in December when we were thinking about launching this platform in December?
Yeah.
And it didn't get launched until May because we were trying to make sure that all the branding was perfect. We tried to get everything perfect, right? But there was always something to get in the way. And what that did was it kept us from telling our story.
Yeah.
Now imagine if we would have gotten started in December as opposed to May and not worried about the perfect branding and the perfect this and the perfect that. There is no perfect time to get started. You do the best you can do with what you have because we are imperfect human beings dealing with imperfect human beings. There's really no real way around that. No matter what, it's kind of like how we look at policing, right? Policing does need to be done. Mistakes are going to be made because we're imperfect human beings. The key is to hold each other and to hold ourselves accountable. But we need to make sure that when we are talking about holding people accountable, that we do so in a way that moves society forward, which is why I wanted to bring up this this article.
Video. Oh,
Okay.
article.
I don't want to play the video. How anti-racist activism affects interracial couples like us. This is a Chinese woman who married, I think, a white man, because that's usually what we see when we see Asian women. They are, we're probably not going to really get deep into this today, but
They like that white meat.
even more than being with someone of their own kind, if they can be with someone who is white, they and their families believe that they are upgrading over even people of their own race, and you see that in a lot of Asian nations.
It's that mythical white dick, you know what I mean? I'm sorry. Fucking around too much.
Welcome, Jimmy Dean, to the show. How are you doing today? Good to see you again. So this writer, she talks about, the 54th anniversary of Loving v. Virginia. We just covered that in the last article. The Supreme Court had this comment to say that distinctions between citizens solely because of their ancestry are odious to a free people. You know, we keep hearing land of the free, freedom, land of the free, freedom. And you realize that these laws have been on the books, and they were on the books for long periods of time. Only recently are they been taken off because, you know, I don't fight the rainbow fight, but I will say, like, what was it, like 2016, 2017?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
you know, if you want to keep talking about freedom, free, home of the free, land of the brave, home of the free, home of the free, but all these restrictions on people who are not hurting anybody else, you got to start calling that shit into question. So, you know, of course, you know, she's Chinese, he's American, right? And, you know, she's talking about, you know, different Chinese and white marriages of the past. You know, you're talking about this general and a Chinese war correspondent, and they lived in Louisiana, and their marriage was illegal, right? And you know, you know, me, I'm in I'm in a union that is like multi-racial, where, you know,
Yo,
you
I'm
guys
just
have
gonna
seen.
say, yeah, dude. He has no discrimination versus any race. Evil's gonna get it. You know what I mean? Yo,
You know, one
it
of my
could be.
partners is Spanish/Hispanic. The other one is like fully Korean. You know, and I say Spanish/Hispanic because she does have Spanish ancestry, but also Caribbean ancestry. So that's why I say Spanish/Hispanic. And I don't mean anything about, you know, anybody getting slashed or cut or anything like that. I know that, you know, Puerto Ricans are, you know, kind of known for putting that blade to your face, but that's not what I'm talking about.
Yo, I got a funny story to tell you off air. Continue.
But I really, really appreciated this particular woman's. Hold on a second. I want to address Jimmy Dean here. With freedom comes responsibility. The problem is there's no real freedom. If you are being arrested because you're a white man marrying a black woman, or, you know, in the case of this this military officer that this particular author is alluding to, you know, you had a white military officer and a member of the Chinese press, and then they come to America and they come to live in, but your marriage is illegal. That's not responsibility. That's just oppression. You know, so you know, this particular writer, she's talking about the murder of George Floyd, and how a lot of people have started to confront a problem that we have in this country. You know, racism is a real fucking problem. Okay, and I think that there has been some. I think that there have been some progress in the year since this man unnecessarily lost his life. Okay, now here is where why I wanted to bring this article up on our show is this paragraph right here. So I'm going to read this verbatim. Okay. I learned that some activists claim all white people are oppressors, while people of other racial groups are oppressed victims. I learned that they think that a racial power dynamic exists in every interaction between white and non-white people, and thus oppression is present in every activity of life. Acknowledging and fighting against white people's oppressive role, I learned, is essential for, quote, anti-racism, end quote. And refusing to acknowledge it is, quote, white fragility, End quote. Okay? Yeah. Now, if she wasn't already married to a white man, I would try to smash, just off the fact that she's not a fucking idiot. There are a lot of us non-white people that are tired of this shit. We're tired of it. And I need people to understand that there are different kinds of racism. You have overt interpersonal racism, and you have systemic racism. It is really important for everybody to understand that not every white person is a representation of oppression. That's bullshit. It's bullshit. And is making life much more difficult to live for people who don't live a racist lifestyle. And I've said it a million fucking times. And if you want to come for me, you can fucking come for me. But I said it a million fucking times. Racism is not just a white person thing. If you live with racial biases and you act on those biases, you are racist. And it doesn't matter what fucking race you are.
See, I hate that language where it's like some people actually believe this. It's like only white people can be racist. Every other race can just be prejudiced. And I'm like, bruh, like that's not even the definition of the fucking word. Like, are we just gonna be doing mental gymnastics? Like, people are trying to
change the definition of racism to try to make it something that it's not, to only point the finger at one group, and that itself is racist.
Well, exactly, and I think this is the dangerous slope we go down, and this is where you create a lot of these echo chambers, or you know this fear mongering. Because think about it, when a white person like me that doesn't have any type of racial tendencies or anything like racist tendencies,
you piece of shit, fucking lying.
Fuck you. Yeah, look at this, dude. Look at this, dude. This is oppressing me right now. Yo, dude. Yo, this motherfucker's oppressing me right now. Yo, this is my white fragility coming out.
Yeah, for real. But, and that's one of the things I thought about when I read this paragraph. I thought about the dynamic between you and I, right?
Yeah, and I'm bro, like, it's wild. Dude, it's wild because, like, man, like it's like people like this, bro, that like subscribe to this mindset are fucking sheep, right? Like, if you can't break down different systems or different fucking people, like, you know, break it apart, you know, that'd be like me saying some wild shit, like saying like, oh, every black person I've ever met's a racist. You know what I mean? Right. Or every like Asian person I've ever met's a racist.
Actually, I believe that every human being that has ever lived was a racist. Is or was a racist. I believe every single human being that has ever existed, racist.
Well, you know, like, I think that when it comes down to it, that a lot of fucking people, I think this type of mindset and this type of philosophy alienates the other group and makes white people like, well, you know what, fuck you then, you know, and this creates more of a divide. This isn't unifying. This isn't bringing us together. This is just dividing us as a people. And I understand there's been some fucked up issues for years, and there's been some fucked up things that even happened recently, right?
How do you go from a two terms for Obama to Trump? How does that happen? Because of exactly what you're talking about.
Exactly. So like you're just gonna have more of a big pushback. My big thing is, man, is like what we got to be focusing on is bringing us all together in education and trying to find a happy medium where we're not fucking alienating a whole group just to fucking, I don't know. To me, it seems like a huge victim card. Has there been some fucked up things that happened? Yes, I'm not even going to just fucking argue that shit. But I think when you kind of have that mindset, you're just going to make more of them. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're just going to make more of those instances come because some young kid, 15, said, oh, so what, you think every white person fucked up? And then, you know, listen, can I just be honest with you, man? Like, us white kids shoot. So, like, I'm just saying, like, another school shooting, bro.
Wow.
Sorry, I'm fucking around.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I'm just fucking around, but obviously, like on some serious shit. I don't know, man. Just it creates this whole different divide that I don't think needs to be there. It just
Yeah.
doesn't.
So I like the question that she asks next. Uh, as the people around me became more deeply mired in this worldview, I wondered, where does interracial marriage belong in these narratives? Why would oppressed persons want to marry oppressors? And if these activists are right, wouldn't we have to conclude that no authentic relationship could exist between white and non-white people?
I've
And
actually
this
seen the
is,
argument. I've seen the argument for this. Actually, like her point that the reason why that relationship even happens is because the white man or white female wants to own that other person. Like I've
yeah, I've
actually
seen that
seen
too.
that, and I'm like, yo, I'm like, like what? Yo, like that is a, like obviously there's some like what's that group BDSM. There's like that stuff, but like yo, like
You
that's
know, a
some
New
other
York
shit.
politician was taken down. He had a BDSM relationship with a black woman who was actually his partner. So, a lot of times in the BDSM world, and if you're talking about if you're talking about like
Yes,
a
yes.
dominant submissive thing,
Mm-hmm.
in a lot of these situations, the dom and the sub are not actual partners.
Mm.
So, so for instance, the sub could actually have a partner, but then the sub also has the dom. It's a different kind of
Oh wait,
relationship.
so they're not like together. It's just like it's kind
That's
of like
just
a
that's
it's like a
their that's
friends it's like a friends with benefits type deal.
but no, it's just a different kind of relationship, right?
Okay.
But then you do get some of those where the dom and the sub are also committed partners.
Mm.
With this particular New York politician, they had that dom sub dynamic, but they were also partners. But when she wanted to fuck his life up, she reported that he was abusing her, right? He
Yo,
reported that she reported that he was abusing her, and then used photos of what they did when they were playing,
yo,
and then used that against him and killed his political career.
yo. That's wild,
Yeah.
bro. That's like the ultimate lose-lose situation.
Yep. And this is another reason why, like, I tell guys, if she's talking about, oh, slap me, oh, choke me, no,
No, no, no, no,
no,
dude.
no,
I had a girl at quick anecdote. Like I dated, went on a couple dates, and then she's like, "Oh yeah, I need you to like punch me," and I'm like, "No, no,
nah,
no,
I'm good.
nah, I'm good,
Nope,
bro. Like, listen, like I ain't going 5 to 10. I'm good. Fuck
nope,
that.
yep. So,
Fuck that
so,
shit.
I really appreciated this article from this woman, because she believes what I believe. It is counterproductive to fight racism with labels like oppressor and fragility. It only shuts down heartfelt conversations. It builds walls rather than breaking them down. And I also say the same thing about womanism. Oh, men are this, men are that. Well, you have to understand that most men don't have any power in society at all, because the power rests at the top. And you might only find a woman or two there, and it's mostly men at the top. But in order for those men to be at the top, there needs to be millions and millions and millions of men at the bottom. So when you paint all men with this broad brush of you're this and you're that, well, actually, you might want to take that to, I don't know, Jeff Bezos, Bill Gates, because those are the men that have power. It's offensive to me for you to be talking about male privilege when I have, the only privilege I've gotten is to be homeless and abused. Like, I don't know what fucking power you're talking about. And then when I talk to a lot of white people, when they talk about white privilege, which I don't think that a lot of white people truly understand what white privilege is. But when you hear that out of context, you're going to think, well, if that's the case, you're saying that it's making my life easier. Look at how hard my life is. What the fuck are you talking about? Right? But they don't understand that white privilege is not the presence of something better, but the absence of something worse. They don't understand that, and they can't possibly do so because that's not their experience. They can't know what's worse than what they have unless they've gone through it, right? So, when they get pulled over by police, they're annoyed because their life is being made hard because now they're late for wherever they're going, and now they have to pay this ticket, But a black person in that same situation is trying to call everybody they know because they're afraid that this is their last day on the planet. So one person is afraid of being late. The other person is afraid of being killed. Whether they resist or not, black people have been killed at traffic stops, even when they are complying with the officer or officers. There have been a lot of situations where an officer is busting off his gun and his partner does not even know why his gun is out to begin with. Right? So a lot of white people don't understand what white privilege is. And for my white friends, I always say, I'm glad that you don't really know what it is. I'm glad that you don't know what it's like to have that kind of fear, because you don't know if the officer that is approaching your driver's side window, you don't know how itchy his hands are. You don't know how nervous he's going to be because of a false preconceived notion of people that look like you. So, when a white person gets a loan at a bank, when a white person gets a loan at a bank, they actually deserve to get that loan because their credit rating is this, that, or the third, right? But what white people don't understand is that there are people who understand, that have the same kind of credentials, and they go for that same loan and they don't get that loan. So for the white person, life is just going the way it's supposed to. The way we black people look at it is, well, the system is built up against us. We don't necessarily think that the white person that we're dealing with is racist, but we know that the system was built on racism, and there's still a lot of remnants of that racism that show up. Again, we talked about this on a previous episode about how people go to sell their homes and the appraiser comes by, and the value of their home goes down because it looks like black people live there. And then when you take out all of the evidence that a black person lives there, all of a sudden the house is worth twice or even more. Right? So for the white person, when they go to sell their house and the house gets appraised, is being appraised for the value it should be appraised for. So their life is going the way that it should. There's no extra privilege in that. And that's why white people have a problem with the concept of white privilege, because it's not actually something that they can look and say, well, I am getting an added benefit to something. They are not getting an added benefit. But Jimmy Dean, this is one of those things that lurks underneath the surface, because redlining is illegal. Discrimination based on race and sex and blah, 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 it is illegal. But when they do decide that they are going to discriminate against you, they're not going to actually write, I am denying this loan because my niggas, I don't want them to have this loan, my niggas. No, it's not that at all. They could just say, this stuff is happening in the market. We can't take this risk. Sorry. And you'll never know why you didn't get the loan or why you didn't get that apartment. Or, and they've done this with hiring managers where they will put the exact same resume and change the name. And if your name is Kareem, your resume goes in the trash. If your name is Brad, you get the job. Same exact resume, just the names have changed. We've seen so much of this, but the thing is that when a white man is sitting at the job interview, he's not sitting there next to a black man to watch the black man be discriminated against. And that's how, and that's, and yes, it is systemic, because it's a bias that you don't even know that you have, but it's trained in you as a professional. So I understand what white privilege really is, but I also understand how the phrase has been horribly misused. Horribly. And like this woman says, it kills the conversation. It builds up walls between people instead of tearing them down. And if you really care about diversity, you have to stop shaming people of any race, and that includes men. I've been saying since this whole hashtag I as well. And they wanted to go in, oh, straight white men are horrible. Straight white men, straight white men, straight white men. How about we stop looking for the acceptable pariah in society? How about we do that? How about we leave the rainbow people alone and we leave the straight people alone? How about we stop trying to shame everybody? Can we do that? And I think that this woman is having this kind of, I don't know, come to Jesus moment, because it's like, she married a white man. He claims to love her. From the way that she's writing, it's not like, he is beating the shit out of her every day. How can I enjoy my time? How can I be woke and enjoy my time with my white husband is what she's thinking. And the thing is that, again, having a movement and having a purpose is great. But once you have achieved your purpose, put the fucking guns down and go live your goddamn life. So I just,
it's
look at this. Look at this. Look at this. Look at this. And this is why, because we were just talking about this, right? Yeah, I definitely agree with this. Wasn't we talking about the whole thing with
Yep, with the education and kind of
with
how
the education thing? But why do if I'm a white parent in Mississippi and I've never owned slaves and my children haven't watched me own slaves, and then you see that instead of, like you said, instead of just teaching the history, you see, well, we're going to put this oppressor victim narrative in here. You know what I mean? And the thing is, I'm pretty sure that this is a woman on the left, right? And, she pretty much, confirmed that early in the article.
It got super robotic for me.
Oh,
5-10 seconds.
Oh, okay. This woman is clearly on the left, because she was saying early in the article that, the people that she runs with keep pushing this kind of narrative, right? But imagine teaching your kids imagine teaching your black child that white kid is your oppressor when that white kid haven't done anything to you. Yeah, I remember this too. Remember this? This was like a slip. This was a slip of the tongue. But I also think that even though that was a slip of the tongue, that was a bit of truth too, because that you're trying to keep black people in an impoverished state overall. That's what you're trying to do. Are you frozen? No, you're not frozen anymore. Yeah, I'm here. Oh,
yeah, can you hear me?
Freezing up. Yeah, I can hear you.
This fucking thing.
You might want to. Leave and come back. I guess.
It's gonna drop and come in and out because I'm in the Anchorage right here. For whatever reason, it sucks.
So
connection
basically,
lines
you're being
right here.
fucked.
Whatever.
It's just going in and out.
fucking vigorously. So what I was gonna kind of say though, this what this lady kind of brought up is like that's I don't know, man. I guess that's what I worry about when they kind of try to teach some of these subjects in school. They don't do it with like any tack or with any kind of I don't know. There's no perfect way because human beings aren't perfect, but
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
just think the with how we're currently going in society, I think that subject will get butchered. If I'm being honest with you, it's going to be create a more division. It's going to create where black
I
kids
think we're
feel
already
every white
there.
kid oppresses them.
Yeah, I believe. I
Sorry, say
believe
that
that. I
again.
believe. No, I'm saying I believe that we're already there.
Yeah,
I believe. When you're talking about you think that there are going to be divisions created, I watched this happen during the Obama presidency from 2008. I'm talking about from when Barack Obama was when Barack Obama was coming up. I think he was a senator, right? And he was coming up,
yeah,
and they were thrusting him into the national spotlight. And I saw that kind of racism coming from black people, where and then we saw it again in 2016 with Hillary. Oh, we should vote for her because she has a vagina.
mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Well, but that's a I think a line of thinking that we need to try to divert away from. Where I don't know. Like I said, we're human beings, man. So we're probably always just going to be fucked up. You know what I mean? Regardless of how many things you put in place, there's going to be some type of fucked up way people think for whatever reason. Like some of the topics we've talked about, like me and you just having a regular ass conversation. I feel like me and you have pretty a good amount of common sense. Um, just apparently isn't common sense. I just, like certain subjects shouldn't be that difficult to understand, and I just think the philosophy of treating people how you want to be treated is just the way you go about life. You don't just treat someone like dog shit and then fucking expect to get flowers. But,
Right, exactly, exactly. And that's one of the things that really annoyed me is that, it I watched and I noticed this mostly with black women doing this back in the Obama days, but they would really try to shame you and guilt you into agreeing with their nonsensical arguments, and if you didn't, they would just call you a racist. And I just thought it's like you are going to put a racist in the White House. That's what you're going to end up doing, and you're trying to take advantage of a societal loophole. And now it's a form of black privilege in a way, but it's more overt because it's obvious that you are taking a position. The position being that you are a protected minority social class, and you're using that and trying to bludgeon people with it. I just never felt good about
mm,
that at all.
well, I think it kind of comes down to the problem as a society. We always look for a leader, right? Like a lot of these, which could call it from both sides, sheep that don't necessarily have, like, they don't have the leader mentality. They're just going to fall in line into something. And I think that, I don't know, man. Last few presidents, it kind of is indicative of that. Just like I don't know. The further we get along, and we've had a lot of conversations off air, obviously, about this. But the more we go out through the years, dude, the more pessimistic you get with truly having any type of fucking common sense in office.
Yeah.
Because I just you just see what bothers me when it comes to politicians generally. They're fucking over stupid shit. I mean, like they're fucking arguing over stupid shit where people have real lives, real jobs, real careers, real families out there struggling. Yet they're gonna go out there and fucking not do their job or like take a fucking like a hiatus from their jobs just to prove a political point.
Right.
It pisses me off. Like when that whole thing went down with the where they left when the I think it was the I forget what year It was right before Trump got out, but they left. They had a recess. That's the word I'm looking for. They had a recess for an extended period of time. I'm like, dude, like, if this was an actual real life fucking job and not like a joke in which a lot of these politicians are, they'd be forced to stay and finish and do the fucking job. And that's why, for me, I believe that this is why I'm morally conservative, because the more I see government try to control you and do things, the more they fuck it up regardless.
Or
So
they
it's
show
just
how fucking lazy they are and they don't want to do anything.
or inept, because you know what? Let's just call it how the fuck it is, man. A lot of these politicians are fucking idiots, and it's just a popularity contest.
I disagree.
Really,
I think that they willfully work against the people of the United States. I think that they're very intelligent because they were smart enough to get into that position of power where many, many, many millions have not been able to do that. They know exactly how to manipulate people. They know how to agree with something for a short period of time and then switch their stance and then switch up again. For instance, we got this Eric Adams guy running for mayor in New York City. The dude.
oh, I've seen his ads.
Like, and the thing is, if you've watched Black Power Magic Hour, I'm shitting on this guy every chance I get because he's terrible. And the funny thing is that he was bragging about how much of a Republican he is, right? And then when he goes to enter the mayoral race here in New York, oh, I'm running as a Democrat. I'm anti-racist, blah, 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 blah. No. You've already outed yourself. Especially, you're a police officer. You're always involved in some kind of, what do they call it? Corruption. There's always some corruption shit going around him. Him doing something he has no business doing. The motherfucker doesn't even live in New York City. So,
well, the funny part is, I remember him and Yang going at it 8 or something like that. I was actually watching your show when that happened.
Yeah.
And it was so funny. Everyone's like, yeah, you guys shouldn't run, because those are the two most popular motherfuckers on the thing. So it's amusing. I think that you're right. I'll amend my statement. Maybe they're not stupid. Morally inept. They don't care actual constituents. You know how many politicians I've seen, especially because I live in the Northeast, they'll fucking all about their actual people that voted for them just so they can get a better job in Washington, D.C. It's sickening. And I think that's why, for me, it's very hard to believe in any big government would do well, because with power comes corruption. Power corrupts all.
I still have a problem with using the word inept, because when you say that someone is inept, that means that they lack the ability or they lack the know-how to perform a function. These people all know what morals are. They know what ethics are, and they willfully choose to do the unethical thing. So when you say that somebody's inept, you're actually taking away responsibility that belongs to them.
Well, so for me, my kind of wording with inept, regardless, I think I'll just put it this way then. They purposely the window like a bunch of scumbags that they are, and they fucking do what's in best interest for themselves and not their constituents. And like I said,
having or showing no skill, clumsily
moral.
No, but the thing is, it's not like, it's not like they're trying to do the right thing morally and just, I don't know how this extra $20 million ended up wired to me in an offshore account. I don't know how that happened.
Regardless of how I word it, the intent of what I'm saying is that these people don't give a fuck about you, and they purposely throw their moral.
You froze on us again, Paul. Why? Stop.
It's all I fucking have on my checking account's fucking full. Oh, is it still freezing?
No, you're starting to come back. But repeat yourself.
I said, however way I worded it, let's just put it the correct way then. These guys purposely know what they're doing. They throw their morals out the window so they can better themselves and pad their fucking pockets. You know? Mm-hmm. And I just... I have a real big issue with how a lot of these career politicians will make a theater act of life, like people's lives. It's just, That's why I believe in term limits. I think they need to have a certain term that they can, go. And I think honestly, that's why money needs to get out of politics in general. Because
Absolutely.
because when you have these groups, right, that fund these politicians, right, under these different like PACs, and they get money back ends. Like, listen, and this can sound fucked up, but when John McCain died, I fucking didn't give a fuck because that guy's a piece of shit to me because
Really.
yes, I do not like John
Everybody
McCain
said, "Oh,
because
he's a war hero and
oh
he's
fuck
this
him.
and he's that."
Fuck him.
And
Honestly, no, fuck him because he wanted to get rid of the Jones Act, which for people that don't understand the Jones Act is that makes sure
oh,
that
you
on
did tell me about that years
it,
ago.
but U.S. ports and it has to be done by U.S. workers, U.S. citizens. U.S. ships have to be U.S. citizens because that protects us because other countries have a lot lower standards when it comes to a lot of these regulations and you don't have as much training. Like how much I went through, how much money I had to spend. So it affects my industry and it actually affects the whole like global economy because then you just have foreign ships going up and down our coast making millions while we're actually losing. So like
Right.
for me, you know what? When he died, I did a jig. I don't give a fuck. I don't like that man. Fuck that man for life. I honestly fuck that man for life. But like going
So,
back on
so
point,
basically, you were a what do they call it? A single issue voter when it came to him.
bro, I was like a single jig voter when I fucking just when he died, I was like, fuck yeah, like fuck him.
You did your garden gnome thing.
Bro, of course, you know,
That day was magically delicious for you.
dude, I had a bowl of Lucky Charms and I fucking pissed on his grave. I
Holy crap!
I do
Um,
not like him.
so we had somebody show up a couple of weeks ago during one of our MMA watch parties, and uh, he was basically trying to shovel some shit on George Floyd's grave, right?
Mm.
Um, and then I read this article, and it made me feel kind of on the depressed side. Um,
Mm.
um, and it does make me feel bad thinking about this because it's not so much the addiction part that bothered me, but when I read this article, I thought about all the people that were so callous and unfeeling because a black man had an opiate addiction. Okay. Scientists have now done some studies. Vitamin C deficiency strongly exaggerates the craving for and effects of opioids. Supplements may help combat addiction. Okay? Now, what does that mean to you? Before I even get into the article, what does that mean to you? Vitamin D deficiency.
Well, wait, vitamin D isn't that from sunlight?
Yes, sir.
So like for my thing is, what's weird is if you really think about it, with how antisocial our society has become, especially within this past year.
Mm-hmm.
Um, this is why you're probably seeing even in certain spikes. I know there's certain spikes in Maine and there's certain like in Lewiston, but there's certain spikes even in certain parts of Cumberland or Rhode Island, I believe. But um, I think this isolation would be like the worst thing ever, right? Because a lot of more people are just probably just sitting on their ass at home. So then
Mm-hmm.
they kind of like, if they have that addiction, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's wild. So it makes it worse. Just
Yeah,
because you're not even doing anything to make it worse. You're just not getting enough sunlight.
exactly. Now, guess who cannot get enough sunlight while still being in the sun?
Blacks.
Black people. And the reason
Yeah.
for that is that, black people, you notice that people's skin tends to be darker the closer to the equator that you get, right?
Yeah.
So this is not because black people are, inferior to white people. It just so happens that the people that live near the equator needed more UV protection from the sun. So the melanocytes are more active in those people. So with black people, in order to, I guess, block the damaging rays of the sun. As you know, it can cause melanoma, other skin cancers, or what have you. A lot of the UVB rays are not really absorbed through the skin the same way it would do for someone that has less active melanocytes. So, because that is really, I mean, how else are you going to get it besides, maybe dietary supplements? Vitamin D is one of those things that your body needs an outside source to produce on its own.
I was reading a study actually about this, not about this certain subject, but about the vitamin D deficiency in our society as of right now. I think it was the Mayo Clinic, and it's interesting because, like, with the whole the bad virus that's going around and stuff like that.
The Rona?
The Rona is. I'm not saying solely because of this, but like, because there's such deficiencies, a lot of people's immune systems they're not as strong as they should be. I'm not saying they're
too strong.
Yeah, it doesn't fix everything, but I'm just saying, like, it is actually an issue with apparently states above a certain line, like it's above a certain line in the United States. What's that called? I forget the exact name of what's called in the United States.
Latitude? Yeah. Line.
Yeah.
Latitude. Yeah.
Yeah. No. But like above that line, I forget the exact line. But
it's 30 degrees.
But you know what I mean. Like above that line, there's actually those people have big vitamin D deficiencies because they don't get enough sun. Actually, that's why me and you don't get enough sun, like where we live, and it's actually an issue because
Tropic of Cancer, Equator, Tropic of Capricorn. Yeah,
it's very interesting. But I just think the
23.5 degrees north, Tropic of Cancer.
Okay.
So I think that's what you're. Jimmy Dean is saying the 46 parallel.
Thank you.
36 parallel. 36 parallel.
I know what he meant though, but I think I think the perfect thing with that is that, like, we got to be a little bit more cognizant and start taking certain supplements, because as a society we don't have enough nutrition. Our food doesn't give it to us. We eat a lot of shit, and not to make this into a health conversation, but every
conversation is a health conversation.
It's true. A lot of people aren't cognizant what they put in their bodies, and we're all guilty from time to time, probably eating something we shouldn't. But you need to make sure you give yourself enough nutrients. Like today, I had fish. You know what I mean? So like, you had to eat the proper foods, and also I'll be honest with you, like vitamin D. Sometimes a supplement's the best way to go because it gives you like such a super amount of it. But continue with the article.
Right.
That's what I was thinking of, the Mason-Dixon. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, that's 36 parallel. So, so the reason why I brought this up and why this gave me emotional distress is because when Jimmy Dean is ignorant to something. So, yeah, absolutely. But the thing is that it's not something that people eat every day, and it's also not something that you should eat every day because of the mercury levels and also the microplastics levels that have risen in the Earth's oceans around the world. So, limiting your seafood intake is probably the thing that that's probably a policy that you want to implement in your life.
You got to make sure to do it in moderation.
Vitamin C deficiency strongly exaggerates the craving for and effects of opioids, potentially increasing the risk for dependence and addiction. And they did these studies in mice, and they've done several studies talking about UV exposure and the correlating endorphin levels that they've noticed. So when I look through this article, and what I'll do is that I will put this article in the comments section so that you guys can so that you guys can look at this yourself, because I don't have all day. But what it tells me is that, and this is one of the reasons why I just refuse to take painkillers at all. You look at what happened to George Floyd, and everybody wanted to talk, well, he had fentanyl in his system, and that's why he deserved to be murdered. And again, he ended up addicted because of an injury, and he was prescribed medication that ended up becoming habit forming, that led to the abuse of the drug. And then you look and you see that when it is widely known that black people have much lower vitamin D levels than most other races. And to think that there are so many people out there that have no compassion, they're super callous, as long as it was as long as it happens to a black man that has some sort of criminal record in his past, him being murdered, it's okay. It's okay that he was murdered. We support him being murdered. We have no compassion for our fellow human being.
But that comes down to the tribalism, though. That's like we've talked about before. That's what that stems from, honestly.
Yeah, but when I look at an article like this, and I'm like, you have all of these people running their goddamn mouth. They know black people, and they know that black people deserve this and they deserve that and all this garbage. And then you actually look at the goddamn fucking science. And
yeah, but not every person's gonna not every pretty much most people are gonna be fucking stupid, though. Yeah. I'm not condoning it, but that's just how it is. And I think it goes down to a greater argument with, we need to keep innovating over time, and I think that should be a main thing. I think that should be a big thing, like with hospitals and stuff like that. You got to be conscientious of what you give, because I actually had a buddy of mine, I'm not going to name him, who actually had issues with that, kicking it, because he took it. He had some pretty big surgery. Like I said, I'm not going to really name it, but he got hooked on the shit, and he actually kind of changed, right? Like, he had to go, like, after he got off the painkillers, like, he still was, like, really jonesing for him. He really fucking wanted them, and he started, like, getting them illegally. And, dude, like, he's good now, but, like, for a good, like, I would say 3-4 years, like, his life was in disarray, because his life was surrounded about fucking getting that next high, that next, like, making himself.
It's not even high anymore. They're just trying not to be sick.
Exactly. Because what they had to do to get off of it was they actually had to go to, there's a certain medication, I forget the name of it, they have to take that so they don't feel pain.
Suboxone?
Yes, thank you. And because if they don't take that, dude, like they have, they'll die, actually. That's how bad.
Suboxone is also an opioid.
Yeah, I know. But
and they use that to bring you down off of it because the withdrawal symptoms could be fatal.
Yeah. They almost died. So it was one of
Yep.
those things where they had to completely go into a center, and it took 2 times, but they finally clean. But it's just it's some serious shit. And a buddy of mine, the one actually I want to do hockey, he's Native American. He's talked about that quite a bit with the addiction level of alcohol in Native Americans because they have like less of a tolerance to it.
Yeah.
And like it affects them on a heavy level, and it shows because I don't think most people know that though, right? With the article you just showed about the vitamin D deficiency.
No, yeah, but I don't think that people really care to know that stuff because with knowledge comes responsibility, and they don't want to be responsible for having the kind of racist beliefs that they have, and then have hard, concrete proof that their beliefs are completely in the wrong, because then they would have to change, and change is very, very different. Yeah, first you have to admit you're wrong, and then you have to try to make a change. That's just too much work for a lot of people.
Wouldn't you say though, is if bigger news networks, even with a leaning, covered this, it'd be more out there. It would be more of a conversation piece.
But where's the money? Where's the money in that?
But that's where I was gonna go. It's unfortunate that they're so greedy, right? That they're more concerned. How do I put this? I'll just say it. CNN's more worried about milking a situation so they get profit off of it and views than actually having a resolution to it. And I think that's disheartening.
And I don't think that some of the anchors are necessarily in on it. I think that the people at the top, they hire the anchors because they know that they can be emotional, and then they insert them in certain areas so that they can tug on your emotions.
But at the end of the day, they are the anchor, and they should be informed, and they should try to be continually, like, if that's a part of your job, it should be kind of team dose. What? I'm so lost.
Yo, me and Jamal are on a different mental level, yo. I swear to God, yo. Oh, man. I do want to talk about some more drugs to end the show.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And of course, this is something that, I really want Captain's input on this, okay? So let's talk about this. Mysterious packages washed ashore at Cape Canaveral turned out to be
so amazing.
cocaine. Wildlife
That's
manager discovers
amazing.
nearly 20 packages at Florida Space Force Station. In other news, the cartel probably already killed him.
Yeah.
Or her. Yeah.
Bro.
So let's talk about it.
Bro, like,
so
the funny part, the funny part though.
Washing up on shore.
Yeah, what do I do?
So what does, you're the captain of the ship. I'm the captain now. Captain Paul.
Listen, man.
And you see these packages floating.
Oh, bro, it's just sugar. Like, what do you mean? I'm just bringing this home. This big block of sugar I'm putting in my car. It's just sugar, bro. That's all it is.
Brain scans have shown that cocaine and sugar affects the brain pretty similarly.
Exactly. That's just proving my point, bro. I was gonna put sell it around the corner, No, but dude, that is wild, man. Like, if that shit you ever ran into, it'd be insane. Just absolutely insane, like a fucking hole. Just insanity.
The discovery was made by a wildlife manager who was surveying turtle nests. I like turtles. Jamal Howard is thoroughly black. Okay, he's full-blooded black. Pure blood. Okay.
Fair point.
I think that I am probably in the. I'm probably with the Jimmy Dean because I've seen too many films where somebody just finds $1 million in cash or they find a bunch of drugs and nobody even knows they have it, but some gangsters from fucking Latvia fucking sniff you out and find you and they're killing your whole family trying to reach you. They, tracking your fucking footsteps in the mud after it rains. Um, I see that shit. I'm gonna keep on walking, son. I look at that shit like, nah, I don't know who's watching me pick this shit up off the ground. I ain't fucking with
Bro.
that shit.
No, like all jokes aside, man, I definitely wouldn't, due to my licensing, so I would not touch that shit. That's just fucking. But that's crazy. You know what though? It's not shocking because, um,
I mean, look
there's a
how well
lot.
it was wrapped, though. Look how well it was
Bro,
wrapped. You don't have to touch it. You just kind of grab the package. Pause.
dude, pause. But I think the big thing with that though is I don't think people realize it's such a big thing. That's actually where they transport a lot of the cocaine is through the fucking Gulf and shit. So they'll go right through.
I
But
thought that
it's
what they were doing was they would purposely lose some packages to kind of throw off, like throw like maritime police like off the trail. Like they would sacrifice a certain amount of bundles, and then to get the massive amount through some other port, some other way.
well, yeah, like when the government stopped buying it, yeah, they just kind of honestly, there has been reports of that where the cartel will just like lose some shit on purpose to throw them off. It's actually interesting
Security
too,
teams close the beach.
dude.
Recover
There's actually
24 packages.
I know, right? That must have been their fucking highlight of their career. Um, but like when these people go, do they even have submarines now? They have boats. They have non-AIS boats, so they don't get picked up on satellite imaging, or they get
Yeah,
picked up on satellite. They get picked up on satellite or radar, but like
radar.
so.
Yeah,
Yeah, but like on a boat, so on a boat you have an AIS system where every boat's supposed to have um, like a motor or commercial vessel, or even a lot of like a lot of like just local like people that just own boats should have AIS, in my opinion, because if you ever sink or if you're ever having an issue, it reports exactly where you're at, right? So if you're in distress and your vessel's sinking, the Coast Guard can know who the fuck you are if your
they
radio
know where to
is
come
out.
fish out your lifeless body.
Exactly. It's perfect, but that's why you actually have life rafts and like and all that shit, so you don't die. But back on point, I think these they're non-AIS, so dude, like you get picked up on radar, but it's very interesting to see what the cartel does at times, and how they get it across the fucking border. It's insane. Like they did like the Coast Guard had a massive one where they have a video of a guy like on the fucking top of the submarine banging on the door and getting them to stop and shit. It was just insane. But yeah, if I'm on the beach, bro, I ain't touching that shit because you're probably gonna like someone's gonna see you and you're gonna end up dead or in jail, either or,
Yeah, I'm just not gonna take that chance, man. I don't know if it's the federal government's cocaine
bro.
and they're watching
Bro,
me
just
from a satellite in orbit somewhere.
listen.
Because
Like
they
we've
might
been,
want to test out their laser weapon on me. Nobody would even know. They would. Oh, wow, that's a black spot on the beach.
bro. Like legitimately, bro. You just like shit. White person takes it, and then
Vaporize.
dude, a white person takes it, right? But you're on the beach, they're just putting you in cuffs. Like
Oh
like
man.
yo,
When I used
God.
to work in a store,
Mm,
um, I used to work in this mall in upstate New York,
mm,
and they would have crews of women, right? There would be two woman or two man crews that would go
mm.
into the mall, right? So what they would do is they would send the black person into the store first, right? The
Yep.
black person would go in and look at the merchandise and walk around the store. The black person would have all of the attention of the associates that were in the store, and then the white person would come in on the back end and fill up their bags with a bunch of the merchandise and quickly leave while everybody's attention was diverted towards the black person in the store. Like they did
Yo, that's
that really
yeah, that's
often.
wild. Well, dude, it's wild to me because like I've told you what experience I've gone with Darren and stuff like that, but like yeah, it is wild seeing that shit. It's crazy because and obviously people I'm fucking joking, saying a fucked up joke, but not even that either. But yeah, so I don't know, man. Yeah, I'm gonna have to. Hold on, I do I
Yeah, we're
want
gonna
to?
get Paul's before we go. We're gonna get Paul's reaction.
Hold on, what is this?
Cause yo, Jamal really wants to see the look on your face. He really wants to see the look on your face, man.
What is this? Hold on, it's like loading. Can you still hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, just making sure. What? I'm so confused. So I'm on Twitter. I'm fucking confused. What is this? Uh, what is nose roll? I'm fucking lost, dude. Should I look at the photos?
Well, try Google. Try Google. Try Google searching.
Okay.
I like how he spelled your name, Capitaine Paul.
Dude, I'm getting like car wash guides. Yo.
Let me see what I find when I Google it.
Yeah, dude.
Hashtag no swirl.
What is this shit? Yeah, like I'm getting cars. Like deep.
I mean, the image. Those are the images for it, though.
Yo. Okay, wait. Yo, I don't get. Okay, so, bro, I'm like lost. I'm lost as fuck right now. I'm like, if I was out to sea, I'd be fucked. I
Okay,
don't
so
do.
the very first thing that I see here is a tweet when I go to Twitter. My
Okay.
mama don't want me to date outside my race, so Arab or black I'm looking, but I would like some vanilla. And she starts out with she retweet. I think she retweeted somebody else saying that hashtag no swirl.
Oh, what the fuck?
Um,
What
uh,
the fuck?
yeah. So a black man in 2019 posted, "You, we need you, black women, and
Yeah.
y'all need us." Hashtag black men. Hashtag black women. Hashtag we. Hashtag need.
Yo, I'm
Hashtag
reading this
each.
right now.
Hashtag other. Hashtag black love. Hashtag black excellence. Hashtag all black. Hashtag no swirl. So
Yo.
basically,
So, okay.
the no swirl is a movement where people are trying to um, get interracial dating out of society. They don't want to see, and the thing is, I've noticed this, for a long, long time. And I don't want to go into this, big thing, but I was a kind of black guy that was not black enough because I'm mixed race and I sound like I'm Caucasian, and I walk with my pants above my ass, and I'm not selling drugs or in a gang, so I wasn't black enough for them. So they would laugh at me. Oh, he looks strange. Oh, he acts strange. Oh, he sounds white. Blah blah blah. And then they would see me with a different girl, and then they would get really angry. So yeah, we lost Paul again. But they would, see me with a different girl, perhaps Hispanic. We didn't really have any white girls in the hood, but they would maybe see me with a Hispanic girl or something like that, and they would get really mad. And I remember when um, I was first starting to date. Let's see if we got Paul back. Nope, not yet. when I was first starting to date, my first wife, they would say a lot of sneaky things that would throw a lot of dirty looks our way. But right before I started dating her and I was single, they would laugh at me and, they would, disrespect me and all of that. They would, basically I was not good enough for them. So they would laugh at me, but then they would see me with a girl of a different race and it would get really angry. So, it's something I've been going through like all my life. A lot of people want to say, hashtag no swirl, but then, certain kinds of women expect that just because they're a certain race that I got to put up with their bullshit. And I'm not doing that. I'm not putting up with bullshit from any woman. And, I talked about this with my co-host on Black Power Magic Hour. We both want to date black women. I'm still open to dating black women. But what I'm not going to do is I'm not going to get into something with somebody that treats me a way I don't want to be treated simply because they're the proper race, right? I want to be treated a certain way, and I'm going to get that treatment one way or the other. And if it's not from you, it will be from somebody else, because I don't really care about race. I care about how I'm treated. Any final words from you, Captain Paul? If you wanna curse profusely at the anchorage and all that stuff, take it away. And he's in the Matrix. Captain Paul is in the Matrix. And that was it's sad. So as we stare at a frozen Captain Paul, we thank you for coming through tonight's show. If you're on Twitch, definitely subscribe on YouTube, bit.ly/capital T ALKIN _ capital SHT. Okay. Follow us on all social media. Please follow us on all social media.
5th time's the charm.
We got Twitter, we've got Instagram, we got Twitch.
Yeah, Twitch.
TALKIN _ SH_T. Please follow us. If there are any topics you want us to cover, Talking Shit Podcast LLC at gmail.com. Also know that on most Saturdays, as long as they're not featuring fighters that abuse women or that, put overtly racist narratives out there, as long as they're not doing those things, I will be sitting here for hours with you for the Filthy Casual MMA watch party. I want to really thank everybody. I want to thank everybody for coming through, and the subject is a heavy one today, but we are not shying away from a motherfucking thing here on the Talking Shit Podcast. It doesn't really matter what the subject is. We're going to talk our shit. And that's really the biggest thing. Now, would you like some parting shots?
Fuck this Anchorage. Fuck the Statue of Liberty. Fuck New York City right now. Fuck everything about this place. Fuck it. But, yeah, man, good show, man. It was fun to be on. Apologize about the connection, but I'm doing my best.
Yep, and that's what we do here on the Talking Shit Podcast. We do everything that we can do to bring to you what we hope to be premium content. And until Wednesday, probably around this time, Y'all have a nice couple days, and we'll be right back at ya. So, we out.